Alright, today we got a video about the Sony ZV-E1 and the couple different ways that you can shoot log on this camera. So the Sony ZV-E1 has a setting that is called flexible ISO log shooting mode that lets you shoot in SLog3 with the S-Gamut3 Cine color profile. If you've used some of Sony's other Alpha line cameras, you might know these as picture profiles. So interestingly enough, picture profiles are on the Sony ZV-E1, and you can create one to match picture profile 8 on something like a Sony A7 IV with SLog3 and S-Gamut3 Cine color. But it's a little bit unclear in Sony's documentation what's kind of the right way to shoot log on the Sony ZV-E1. So I was out this morning, I took some test clips, both in flexible ISO log shooting mode on, which lets you add in user LUTs, and I also shot some clips in picture profile 1 for me that I created with SLog3 S-Gamut Cine. I wanted to see if I could find any differences in the footage. So let's get into it and let's take a look. Starting with flexible shooting mode, I converted these to Rec. 709 using Sony's profiles that you can download online. I'm using the low contrast type 709, which is the first conversion LUT that they have. And I used those on both clips. I did no color correction, I did no white balance correction. So I did have the camera in auto white balance, so there's some slight differences in white balance. So let's take a look side by side. On the left is the flexible shooting mode, and on the right hand side is picture profile. The left hand side is a little bit brighter, the sun had come out. On the right hand side it's a little bit more overcast. These weren't the best shooting conditions, pretty bright light during the middle of the day. Onto a walking clip. There's really not a whole lot of difference that I can see here. As we move on to this clip panning upwards, again, left-hand side is log profile on. Right-hand side is shooting log via a picture profile. And then this last clip is probably the hardest to tell, and this is kind of what I expected. These two different methods of shooting log produce virtually the same footage when lighting conditions are the same and when taken back to back. As we watch the ferry kind of cross the river and I switch back over to flexible ISO shooting mode, this is pretty much the same image, and that's exactly what I was looking for. Editor Bill here, as I was sitting here listening to myself say there's not much difference between these two clips. There's just ever so slightly a little bit more clarity and sharpness using picture profile for whatever reason. I don't know if that will come through on YouTube, but I can definitely see it looking at the files directly in Final Cut Pro. And we'll see if it makes any difference when I export. Just wanted to add that. I had shot a couple of videos on the ZV-E1 in flexible log shooting mode. Some of the conversion LUTs that I have weren't working quite well, and I wanted to test this out for myself to see if there's any difference. In my opinion, you could do this either way. Sony's documentation is a little bit unclear. It basically says if it has log shooting mode, use log shooting mode, which is flexible ISO. On cameras that do not, like the A7 IV that I'm shooting on, you use the picture profile. I imagine it would give you the same result, but I just wanted to be sure. I had a question, I couldn't find that anywhere on the internet. Couldn't find anybody that had made a video on it yet. So here you go. If you enjoyed, if this was helpful for you, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.